Hi, I'm Philip Rice, CEO and founder of Transit Hopper. It's a revolutionary new app that's trying to drive value into the transit market. Now let's talk for a second about your daily grind. You've got to get to work. Maybe you got to travel for business. The freeways are clogged. Americans are increasingly turning to mass transit. That could be buses or trains and light rail. In some cities there are different modes of transportation, but when they go to that, it's still a pain in the neck. We're talking long lines of queues, hard to use applications, and none of it gives value to the user. And that's where Transit Hopper intends to come in. We're going to give you route planning, ticket purchase, and give you entertainment and dining recommendations when you go to your new location. Three things that are being done with about 60 different apps in the market at the moment. We want to give you one easy to use app that overlays different municipalities. That's the value that Transit Hopper is attempting to give to the market. There's a value here that's not being captured by the market. One where people are frustrated, trying to get through lines, figure out new transit authorities. That's where Transit Hopper comes in. Transit Hopper intends to help you plan, purchase your tickets, and it even gives you recommendations on where to go to eat. It's a market opportunity that's not being met by any other app in the market right now. The basic idea is focusing in on the customer that's using the app, helping them use it wherever they go, and making their experience better. That's where Transit Hopper excels. Now, if you're like most Americans, you've probably traveled for business. But did you know that over 450 million business trips are planned and executed in the U.S. every year? That means over 1 million people traveling every single day. Overwhelmingly, some 67% of these are using planes, trains, and/or buses. That means transit systems, and that's where Transit Hopper comes in and helps the person find value. Right now, there's no app that connects them all and makes it easy for the user, nor is there an app that helps you plan your trip ahead of time, figure out where you want to go, and gives you recommendations on where to eat. All of this is great for the user, and it helps drive value into an industry that's pretty much focused on the industry itself. Now let's talk about market opportunity. Transit Hopper aims to focus on three pieces of the travel industry. These market segments are trip planning, purchase of fare, and add-ons. And what that means is it gives us a vast opportunity to unite and give value across three pieces of the market that are currently underserved. In terms of trip planning, 70% of the United States trips are currently started in the planning phase on a mobile application. That's where Transit Hopper plans to get in there, offer that value. But it's not a standalone feature. When you offer the fare purchase along with the trip planning, now you see an integrated market opportunity. And when you add in the fact that we know you through a customer-centric approach, we know your taste, we know what you like to eat, and we can offer you recommendations, it's obvious that the market is laid over with three unique pieces that no other app in the industry is offering. It's value that's not being served, and Transit Hopper plans to make good use of it. Now, what are the unique benefits of Transit Hopper? Is it like every other app out there? Well, the answer is no. It's very clear. There are several apps in the transit industry in the United States, and all they do is integrate one piece of one city. No value there. This app integrates them all. It integrates payment across transit authorities, helps the user plan and purchase their tickets ahead of time. No more waiting in lines or stressing out about whether or not you're going to make your train. And once it gets to know you, it makes customer-centric recommendations on where to eat, things you might like to see and do when you're in this new city. That's the unique value that Transit Hopper drives. It's not based so much on the app. It's based on getting to know the user and helping them have a better life. Now let's talk about competitive advantage. We're talking about three pieces of the market segment. That's the first piece of our competitive advantage. We're overlaying trip planning, fare purchase, and recommendations based on customer information. But that's not the only thing that gives us a competitive advantage. It's integrating across municipalities and moving through different apps that gives us a strong competitive advantage over other apps. No app in the market right now does that. Additionally, no app moves in those three market segments. Doing each of these things and doing them well has got to be our primary focus. During the first 5 years, after which we intend to be purchased by a larger tech firm, we want to build up a large customer base based largely on value. We're delivering value to the user. That's going to be that customer centricity that gives us that competitive advantage. We're going to try really hard to know about the user and give them recommendations based on their plan and where they plan to purchase their tickets, give them entertainment recommendations, dining recommendations, and give them a full-scale and vibrant app that gives them everything they need in their travel purchases. Let's talk about the management team. First, there's me, Philip Rice, CEO and founder. I've been all over the world. I've traveled in all different transit authorities. I've waited in queues. I've ridden on trains, buses. I've even ridden on some animals, some of which didn't smell too good, and sometimes it was a complete pain in the rear to do it. I know the pain that the Bailey business traveler faces. Trying to get in line, trying to get a ticket, you ended up in the wrong line. I don't want any of Transit Hopper's users to face that. In addition to myself, we have a number of highly talented management professionals that come to our team. Let's talk about them. Next up in our management team is Michael McHugh. He's our Director of Sales and Client Communication. He holds a BA in Communication with a minor in Marketing. He has experience in the United States Marine Corps with supply and fiscal related jobs, and he's ready and prepped to help us achieve more. Next up is Mindy Nelson, our Director of Advertising and Marketing. Mindy has a PhD in public administration and vast experience working with public and private sectors. She's recently transitioned to help her family business grow and flourish, and now she's coming to Transit Hopper to help us do the same. Next up is Bo Perschbacher, our Director of Technology and Training. Bo has extensive experience in website development, application development, and he also has experience in the tourism and transit industry. Finally, Eric Nelson, our Director of Research and Development. Eric is an airline pilot. He's used to flying in and out of all kinds of cities all around the United States. He knows how to use their systems, the flaws, the drawbacks, and he has a keen insight to help Transit Hopper deliver value to the customer. There are some legal considerations for Transit Hopper. First and foremost, we're going to be a limited liability corporation and founded in Seattle. We'll have written agreements with all partners, shareholders, and employees, including non-compete clauses to make sure that our proprietary data is kept secret and as safe as possible. We'll also get contracted services through legal, accounting, and auditing to ensure that our business performances are legal and abiding by all applicable laws. For cultural considerations, Transit Hopper is strongly committed to diversity. We understand that a rich world around us means people from different places. We are committed to hiring people based on ethnicity and their abilities and making sure that we represent the communities that they come from. After all, that's the customer we serve. In terms of ethical considerations, Transit Hopper has to primarily worry about logon security. It's online, there will be users, there will be unique information that people could ostensibly use in the wrong fashion. To counter this, we've paid for unique security access as part of our seed money ask. We know that it's going to be a chief concern for our users and we want to take care of them. Some other considerations are the cost of the app itself and surcharges. We won't be charging for the app and we won't be charging surcharges. Rather, our focus is customer-centric. We're going to develop value based on understanding our user base, and then we're going to work with platforms across marketing agencies, work into the communities where we do our business, and understand how we can develop click-through advertising value as a way of generating funds. It's not about charging our users, but it's about delivering value to them.
Okay, so let's talk about user privacy. It's a primary concern in the ethical component. We want to make sure that our users have privacy, that their information isn't being sold willy-nilly. So we're going to have limited usage with our partner companies. This means our advertising companies that we work with for click-through advertising, they're going to have limited information to share In some cases, it might have to do with their offerings. We're not going to use user-specific data. We're not going to sell that. Only mass data and trends will be sold. And upon sale of Transit Hopper, because that's our exit plan, a purchase agreement will include required user information update to let the user know that of any changes that the new owner will make.
To address societal concerns in the cities we operate, we're going to have two programs to help give value back to society. One is our Bed to Bus program. It allows homeless people to interact and find beds for the night, and then we'll give them a free fare to get there. Sometimes that's difficult. They might have to travel miles on foot and they just don't do it, ending up spending the night in the dark or in the cold. Transit Hopper intends to solve that problem, stepping in and giving them an opportunity to go get a warm bed and a hot meal. In addition to that, we have the Hop to Work program, which is going to work with local unemployment agencies and the unemployed, giving them opportunity to get ways to work for the first few months, making sure that they're on their feet and back in the workforce.
Now let's talk about the technology and how this is going to work. You can see here we got Android location services or Google Transit API. These are our options. They're deployable. They're out of the box. We can use them already. We interface with them to find the location, and then users' location and destination helps us determine what we want to do. We've got their profile that's stored, and then we take the ticket type and payment through the Trages agency. They already have electronic apps in Seattle and Portland. And then we search for partner Trages agencies using the location. So it's a pretty straightforward integration method. There's a lot of integrations that'll happen, and at the end of the day, most of this stuff is already deployable, and that's what makes it doable.
Let's talk marketing numbers for a second. After the first year and a half, we intend to have over 1.5 million users. But how do we get them? We're going to have marketing partners in every city that we start up in. So to start with, Seattle and Portland, we're going to have over 10 marketing partners in each of those cities. We're going to market strongly with those to develop usership. We're not going to charge for the app. Again, that's the main key, is we're going to get that out there, get people using it, and build on the mind space of people using it and knowing that there's value there and sharing it with their friends. That's the primary marketing number.
All right, let's look at some financial numbers here. You can see we got our cash flow projection here, and this is what we call our optimistic projection, which means it's showing us a break even well before 1 year. Now, the important thing to point out here is that we think we can get it up and running in 3 months. That's our goal, but even if that doesn't happen, and we have all this revenue coming in, say we spend an extra $1 million, well, we'd still end up under with a break even somewhere around here. That's the important point here. If we spent $1 million, which to give you context, Uber spent $1 million to get their app up and running, and we're just deploying in 2 cities with out-of-the-box technologies, with apps like Uber deploying and going before us, we're really confident that we can get this off in 3 months, even a pessimistic 1 year break even. We've got all this click-through advertising revenue, and it's going to give us a nice way to get to that break even if we're conservative. We say, hey, it's going to cost $50,000 across the board. We bump up our marketing expenses and we say, look, we spent $1.5 million. That would be break even at the end of year 1 before we go into other cities. So that's a pretty good financial scenario.
Now all this is good and well, but what's the exit plan? Well, Transit Hopper intends to be acquired by a larger technology firm. As we've said before, we plan to have about 28 million users at the end of a 4 to 5 year period. The value for a long-term user is approximately $2. That gives us roughly $50 million in valuation. Now let's talk ask. We're asking for $900,000 in equity funding. That'll give you a 46% stake in the company and ability to make a say over what we're doing. The remainder is staying with the founding 5 members. Some things to remember about Transit Hopper. We're going to enter in the market that's not being served, overlay 3 pieces of the market, and do it with one unique app that gives users the value of planning, purchasing, and then finding entertainment and/or dining. It's not being served in the market right now. In fact, it's a hugely fractured market. 60 different apps serve it. We're going to do it across municipalities, and we're going to do it with an app. That app is an upfront cost to an investor of approximately $900,000. The value at the end of 4 years is going to skyrocket. We need you on board, and we'd like to give value to a user. Come join us.